What's up, YouTube? So, we're gonna do a little discussion this evening. Is every yo-yo good? This question's a little deeper than you would think otherwise. So, I'm gonna kind of compare it at first. Is every yo-yo good? Sort of. Over the last couple years, a lot of what's contributed to this is that Chinese manufacturing and overseas manufacturing in general has really stepped up its game a lot. And you see this across the board. Overseas guitars used to be terrible. When I was a kid, to get a decent guitar, you had to get one that was, if it was overseas made, you had to get one that was made in either Japan or South Korea. And those were really the only two other countries that were making guitars that were even semi-worthwhile or semi-worth playing and paying money for. And they cost a lot of money back then. I think, the South Korean ones usually ran the $400 to $500 range, which for a kid who didn't have a job, that was a lot of money. And the Japanese ones were almost as expensive as some of the American guitars. Overseas manufacturing has gotten a lot better. Indonesia's really good now. China makes really good stuff. And, Germany, the list goes on and on and on. Overseas manufacturing has gotten much better. So this sort of leads people to think that, now every yo-yo is good. And every yo-yo is a lot better than they used to be. You used to have to spend a lot of money to get something good. Even back in 2008, 2009, you had to kind of go either with Yo-Yo Jam, Yo-Yo Factory came out, you had to get one of those, and those usually cost, a lot of money. You were spending 60, 70, 80, 100 plus dollars for a yo-yo that was any good at all. Now that's not the case. You can spend 25, 30 bucks and get a pretty good one. But are all yo-yos great? Is every yo-yo good? I'm going to kind of also compare it to superheroes. Is Squirrel Girl a cool Marvel character? I would say no. But, a lot of people like her. She tends to be a fan favorite. But is she as good as Spider-Man? No, not at all. So that sort of leads me to my next point. Is the N12 Shark Honor, is that an okay yo-yo? Yeah, that's fine. For the $10 that you pay for it, it spins. They're usually, most of them aren't very vibey, and it works. But is it a G squared Banshee? Does it play nearly as good as a G squared Banshee? No, not at all. You can go buy 10 of them, 10 N12s for $7 to $8 a piece. Good luck getting a Banshee at all, or finding one for sale, or getting somebody to part with their Banshee. It's not gonna happen. That's because the Banshee's better yet, by a long stretch, by a ton. It's a way better yo-yo. And, a lot of things fall into play like this, knives, guitars, everything like that. Now, is a Banshee, can I do better tricks on the Banshee than I can do on the N12 Shark Honor? No. Do I enjoy playing a Banshee a lot more than I enjoy playing an N12 Shark Honor? Do I have a lot more hours on Banshees than I do on the N12 Shark Honor? Absolutely. Many more hours. I think sort of the, confusion where these comments come in is there's two types really of yo-yo people, and there's the players and there's the collectors. I'm clearly firmly set in the collector category because I'm not the greatest yo-yo player ever. I'm getting better. Always getting a little bit better, but I'm not the greatest player. And like I said, do I need 100 yo-yos? I've only got 2 hands. No, I don't need that. I don't have 100 anymore. I've pared it down a little bit. Maybe 75 or so. But do I need 75 yo-yos? No, I don't need 75 yo-yos. But I like having 75 yo-yos because, honestly, I just like to open up a case, wander around, pick up a yo-yo, throw some tricks, talk to the kids, talk to the wife, keep throwing some tricks, and put that yo-yo back in the case, pick out another one. It's fun. They all have a little bit of a different feeling. And sometimes I like to go from extremes. Sometimes I want to play, a lot of times I want to play a Banshee. I really like the Banshee. And then, sometimes I just want to pick up the shutter wide angle and see if I can catch some crazy pops, because it's super wide. See how wide it is? So wide. so wide. Not as smooth, but so wide. As far as collecting is concerned, collecting advances the hobby. I've said this before, I've done discussions on this. Collecting is what advances the hobby. It advances it, though, with money. If we had all sort of decided that the shutter was the best yo-yo ever, we would have all bought a shutter 3-4 years ago, maybe 2, and we would have not bought any other yo-yos, and then yo-yoing as a hobby would have just died, because there would have been no money to fund teams, no money to fund contests. That's what collectors are there for. We're there not to be the next Gentry Stein necessarily, or to be the next Zach Gormley, or to be the next Andrew Mader, or whomever. We're there to try the newest, coolest yo-yo, pick it up, play with it, and have fun with it. And that's really what collectors are there to do. Collecting is just as much fun to us as it is to anybody else. So, to throw it back to, is every yo-yo good? As somebody who's tried a ton of yo-yos, are most yo-yos acceptable? Good isn't, it's subjective and it's sort of a relative term. Is every yo-yo acceptable? Maybe not every one of them, but 99% of them, I'd say, are acceptable. Even the $15 or $16 Replay Pro is very acceptable yo-yo. It's a good yo-yo. It's nice. I like it for $16. Now, if this was $40, I'd own 0 of them. We need trick creators to be able to come up with new tricks to keep it exciting, give us something to shoot for, give us something to work on. And the competitors and stuff can also be collectors. I'm not saying that they can't be. I would say Kai Zizin is probably one of the best players I've ever seen play in my life, and that's only because I could see Kai probably once a week, a few times a month. And Kai has some of the densest, most insane tech, and is also a pretty good speed player as well. He doesn't like to be that, but he can do it very well, much better than me. And, John Wolf as well is incredible, and, I see those guys pretty often. And while I would consider them players, most definitely, they usually just use, whatever, they use their recess yo-yos primarily. I think I've seen Kai bang around the same 4 or 5 recess vacations for the last year, and now he just got a couple of recess charms, and he's been playing those a lot lately. And same thing with John, but they I would say they're players, but they have huge collections. Kai often will walk in with something new, something different, something really old, and say, "Hey, I had this in my collection. Check it out, try it out." Kai's told me his collection's somewhere in the 400 range. Now, he's been playing yo-yo a long time. He's won a lot of those. But he's one of those guys that just is, he can collect as well as he can play. Gentry seems to pretty much always just have the shutter on him, and that seems to be all he plays, either the shutter or the Replay Pro. Well, now the shutter wide angle, but, some version of the shutter and or the Replay Pro. And, that's good for him. Those are his signature yo-yos, and of course that's what he wants to be seen with. I'm not sure. He may have 2,000 yo-yos in his collection, like Ann Connolly has like 2,000 or 3,000 yo-yos. Doesn't seem to be focused on new yo-yos as much as he seems to be focused on winning the next contest or just advancing the play of yo-yo more than he is advancing sort of the collecting of the yo-yo. Now, there's been several versions of the shutter, and he's, I think, done his best to sort of help refine the yo-yos that have been his signature models over the years. So he's not entirely devoid of that, but he's not pushing a new yo-yo every year. He doesn't have a new version of a yo-yo every year. It's pretty subjective, but there's a few things that really stand out for what's a good yo-yo and what's just sort of a meh yo-yo. So smoothness is highly valued, and you pay more for it. You pay a lot more for it. It's getting cheaper to get a smooth yo-yo, but usually between $75 and $100, you're looking, those are the yo-yos that are dead smooth, $75 to $100 and beyond. Less than that, it might not be as smooth. This is about $55. Some of these are dead smooth, some of them are not. But, smoothness, I would say, is at a premium, and you pay more for a smooth yo-yo. Now, you may pay less for a smooth yo-yo now than you did, 3, 4, 5 years ago, but smoothness is definitely at a premium, and that's probably at the tippy top because the precision machining has to be, and the QC has to be at the top. That's really what costs money. Precision machining and QC. So, you get to that point, and paying a little bit more for that because somebody's got to check all those yo-yos to make sure none of them are vibey. Otherwise, they lose a lot of money. So, there's that. The trend now seems to be sort of like light but still stable, and as machining tolerances and machining quality goes up, you're just going to see more and more of that. Additionally, to sort of help facilitate that, you see different metals, bimetals, you see stainless steel rings, you see 7075 aluminum, 7068 aluminum, 7003 aluminum, like on some of the Top Yo stuff, to sort of facilitate lighter yo-yos sometimes, although the Top Yo's really aren't that light. But to facilitate lighter yo-yos with still the same stability and long spin times that you would have on a heavier yo-yo. So, that costs more money because you need more precision machining and better tolerances in the machining to make it a good yo-yo. But it seems like smooth, light, stable, long spinning are pretty highly prized. Now, there can be a best of category where, think, smooth, but smooth, like I said, is at a premium. Every yo-yo, you want it to be smooth. But if something's got higher walls and maybe doesn't spin as long, but is sort of has that floaty and fun aspect to it, think the Grail, the ART Grail. So, if it's done right, I think there's a balance there where the Grail's still pretty stable. It still spins a decently long time, but it's not extremes of that regard. You know what I mean? Like, it's not crazy stable. It's not, like the Recess Charm would be. It's crazy stable, right? Crazy long spinning. It's one of those, like, it's clearly competition based. It's wide. It's stable. It's long spinning. It's light. It's meant for the Recess players to tear through competition. That's what it exists for. The Grail's not really meant for that. But the Grail has that right balance of, it's not a frustrating yo-yo to play by any stretch of anybody's imagination, but it's still sort of floaty and higher walled, but not terribly high walled, and a little bit challenging to play, but at the same time, it kind of forces you to have a little bit of, forces you to clean everything up and sort of have a little bit of like smoothness, a little bit of extra smoothness just to get everything right and just to get it play right. And sometimes that little bit of extra challenge and that little bit of push just to play a little bit better is a very good thing, and the Grail kind of fulfills that. But at the same time, a lot of times high wall, if it went a little more the other way, like it was unstable, and was more unstable, the high wall was inhibiting, and it was a frustrating yo-yo to play. There's a balance there. If it becomes frustrating to play, I've played a lot of frustrating yo-yos, actually, and a lot of frustrating yo-yos that people think, oh, this is a great yo-yo, but is it? Well, it's challenging. It's frustrating. To me, I think the Grail sort of is the pinnacle of like where that ought to be. The Grail, and then like also some other ones that are really good. Think of the Unspoken Murmur is, for me, right there. It's kind of right on that level of it's floaty and fun and kind of light and a little bit small, but at the same time it's not frustrating to play. And I feel like there's a delicate balance that you have to walk. There's a razor's edge you have to walk there. And for me, those two yo-yos really kind of make that. And, you kind of teeter, off the edge, and it can be frustrating to play, but those yo-yos don't. But so I feel like that kind of puts those as sort of a best in class, at least in my mind, of that, because they walk that razor's edge of like, well, this is almost frustrating to play, but it's challenging and still fun, but not frustrating. It's not game breaking. It's just challenging and fun. And those, I think, are really, really important yo-yos to have as well. Maybe not competition based, but to have that little bit of extra challenge while still not being frustrating is really fun. So how do you identify what the best yo-yo is? Or what's a good yo-yo? Well, the only way to do it is to play it. Like I said, it's a subjective thing. Are all yo-yos good? Sort of. Maybe not to you. It's subjective. You're not going to necessarily think that all yo-yos are good. I certainly don't. But play the yo-yos. How do you play yo-yos? Go to contests. Go to Yo-Yo Club. Collect them. Buy yo-yos. Just take a jump. Just do it. They're not that expensive. Just leap of faith. Take a leap of faith. Buy some yo-yos. Especially if it's a company that you like. A lot of companies are doing a lot of really good things, and they support a lot of contests. They support a lot of people. I try to put out reviews as often as I can. I really do try to tell you what yo-yos really stand out, and really I feel like go from like, this is pretty good, to just fan-freaking-tastic. If you can't tell, 2018 Banshee, fan-freaking-tastic. You're going to want one of these. Just like you wanted an OG Banshee, you want one of these too. You should have two. You should have two Banshees. You should have an OG and a 2018. I feel like they're necessary. It's necessary to have them. They're really good. But you know, collect. That's the best way to do it. And then, you know, as you kind of find what you like, you can sell off. That's the nice thing about yo-yos too, is they sort of retain their value. Sell off what you don't like, or what's just not your thing, and build up more of, or just try the newest things. That's what I love to do. New things to me are like awesome. I really dig it. But I think that's going to do it for me today, guys. So to answer the question, are all yo-yos good? You know, most of them are acceptable, 99% of them. But it takes some looking to find the real gems and the real standouts. And I think finding those real standouts and those real gems really is part of the exciting and the fun part of yo-yo. And my gems may be different than your gems, but they exist. So, you know, look for it, try them out, try new yo-yos. That's going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I do videos every single day. I know, just every day. It's weird. But cheers. And I'll see you next time.